And we're live in 3, 2.
What's up to the beautiful world of WunderCAST? Coming back at you with a guest on this episode. So as always, I've got producer Alex up in the house. I'm Ryker Taylor. You know that by now. But our guest, super excited to have him on, is Ian Timmons.
What's up? What's up?
So local barbecue master, maestro, pit master.
A learner, barbecue learner.
Okay, barbecue learner. Always learning. Always
Yeah.
be educating yourself. That's great. That's great. No, but yeah, Ian has Tom and Bingo's, which is Lubbock's oldest restaurant, for those of you that didn't know that. And yeah, it's a really cool spot. I love going there. And Alex, it sounds like I got like super quiet in my mic.
You're too close to the mic.
I'm too, nope, this, that, the other. It's
a little
super quiet.
You're like
super
on
quiet.
the mic. I need
Gotcha.
you back up just a hair.
Cool. All right. That sounds good. Well, now that we've got that figured out,
Yeah,
let's delve into
Thanks
it.
for having me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We're excited to have you on. Tell us a little about yourself, how you got here, what you're doing, Tom and Bingo's, the whole thing.
Yeah. So I am pretty much a Lubbock kid. I moved here when I was 8. My parents moved here from Austin.
Okay.
And I went to school, went to Monterey, Plainsman, went to Tech, moved off to Denver for a little bit. And kind of Lubbock does that thing where it calls you back. And I had the restaurant was kind of something that me and Christy were gonna come back and take over, and we did that in about 2016. So that starts 2017. So that starts my second stint in Lubbock. As I've become this barbecue guy. So yeah, now I do Tom and Bingo's, which was Christy, my wife. It was her father's. So I worked for him at Tom and Bingo's under Dwayne when I went to Tech.
Okay.
For 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Back in 2009.
Okay.
And then I actually played music in a local band as well. Me and my wife we both worked at Tom and Bingo's barbecue and gigged around town.
Okay, nice.
So so we were doing that for a while, and then we had to kind of grow up and explore, and moved off to Denver.
Okay.
Figured stuff out. Got some experience under our belt, and it just kind of grew as people, and
Sure.
and I still got to work for restaurants, and so I got to experience a different restaurant scene, and here we are. And now we're just really focusing on cooking good barbecue, really.
Yeah, and it's fantastic stuff.
Thank you.
So I got to go back to probably the little known fact about you. I didn't know this till you just said it, but you played in a band. What did you play? What was it called?
I played guitar.
Okay.
Mainly a rhythm guitar.
Okay.
It was a Mystic Mountain Revival.
Okay.
That's we fantastic. We were a hippie jam band back in the day. I had long hair. The lead guitarist was Randall Spears, another Lubbock kid.
Yeah.
And he's an excellent guitar player, super talented, still to this day, very smart kid. So, we played a lot of Grateful Dead and Fish, songs, Fish-esque songs. So
okay.
Yeah.
Good times, right? Yeah.
That was awesome. It was, it was really a great experience.
Sure.
And playing live music there's actually a lot of musicians that go into barbecue, actually. So they're somehow connected. I don't know how.
I was about to say I've heard of like a lot of people that do that, and feel free to adjust that if you want to see me better or whatever. That's something that's an interesting connection that seems to be there is music and barbecue. They just go well together.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess being cooking craft barbecue now is definitely like you kind of got to be a chef, and being a chef is very similar to being an artist. And, and it to me it mixes art and craft. So you got your art as a chef, and then you got your craft as a chef, and that's kind of what barbecue and cooking in general is, I think.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. Talk to me a little bit, like, how do you feel like the music scene in Lubbock has evolved since when you were playing back in the day to now?
Yeah, sadly, I don't really know much of the music scene now, other than there seems to be a lot of singer-songwriters here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have 2 kids now, so I'm not up with the bar scene.
Okay.
But I know enough to. There are some good. There's always the classic element and Scuba Steve and all those guys. But it seems to be a lot of singer-songwriters in like, what's the place? The Blue Light?
Yeah.
Sorry, I blanked, but that's a classic spot that, I don't know. They're always pumping out singer-songwriters. But back when I was playing in maybe 2009, 2010, there was like a little string of like hippie jam bands.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of the wave we rode.
Okay. Yeah, you were a part of that group collective. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, talk to me a little bit about just barbecue. I want to know all that you know in as little amount of time as you can share. Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, the barbecue scene in Lubbock is taken off. You got Evie Mays that, Tom and Bingo's has been around since the 50s. And we've been, we cooked a different style of barbecue for a long time. And in 2011, 2012-ish, Aaron Franklin and John Lewis kind of started to revolutionize the barbecue scene with Franklin Barbecue in Austin, and that whole kind of style of barbecue started taking off around 2012. And Lubbock, I think that Evie Mays really kind of kick-started that evolution here.
Yeah, so you credit Evie Mays for that then.
Yeah, I think they brought it here. We were cooking a different style.
Sure,
So
like
we
the
were
U's and the Bigums and all those are
even more different than that. It goes. I mean, the barbecue history world goes deep. So we were cooking a more of an East Texas style barbecue. That's where Tom came from.
Okay.
Where you throw on briskets, you cook them fast, and you chop them up, and you put some really good sauce on them. And he was doing all kinds of stuff back then, but that's kind of that East Texas style of barbecue we were cooking here. And so the style of barbecue that I'm cooking now, I think that Evie Mays probably brought that here. And since then, there's been the ones that have popped up that are still that are obviously going to stay and that are serving quality good food. Yeah, are Hill, Rahino, and Pitforks. Okay, and Smoke Rings in Slayton, and then I with Tom and Bingo's kind of bridged the gap between old school barbecue that we were cooking to this new Central Texas style barbecue that we were cooking. To the Central Texas style barbecue that we're cooking now. Yeah. So then you got those 5 spots in Lubbock now that are popping up that everybody needs to check out, and doing a little barbecue tour like that on a Saturday, get you a driver, drink beers in the line, and, just go on a barbecue tour. That's one of the coolest things you can do in Lubbock. I mean, it's like Disney World for adults. Sure. You're waiting in line, and then you just have like a little moment of satisfaction, and then you go to the next ride. That's right. Oh man. Talk to me a little bit about, as much as barbecue is about the meat, it's also somewhat become about the sides. Yeah. Like you got to have a lot of these places that you mentioned, they have like a side lineup that's knockout stellar. Yeah. So talk to me about when you're sitting down and you're approaching your menu, and I don't know how often you do that, and you can speak to that too, but like when you're approaching your menu and like what you're going to offer and how you're doing things, what are you looking at in terms of like, I want to have this to complement that, to do this? Yeah, I like that question. No, I don't get to explain this very often. So it, there is more thought to it. There's a lot of thought that we put into it. The side game, the sides are going off, and Evie Mays has a gluten-free bakery. I'm promoting them a lot. They're friends of ours. So and they're they push the standard of West Texas Ford. But excuse me. You're good. You got to have good sides. You got everything nowadays has got to be tight and good and tasty and complimentary. We are limited because does my sound good? Sorry, I feel like. Oh yeah, you're sounding good. Yeah. Okay. No, you're good. Sorry. Yeah. We are limited. Our sides are limited because we have this 1950s old school building. Mm-hmm. We don't have a microwave. Okay. Even we don't have an oven. We don't have anything. So we do have a pit, and we have a burner and a little griddle. So that's where we get to be creative, and we have to make sure that all of our sides fit our operation.
Yeah.
That being said, we brought on my mom's potato salad.
Okay.
You got to have that family history. That's kind of what Tom and Bingo's is about. She has got a really great potato salad. Obviously, my wife was like, you got to use my mom's potato salad. So there was a little battle for a little bit, whose mom's potato salad is better. And I think everyone's going to kind of say theirs.
Yeah.
But I think our potato salad, we kind of tweaked it a little bit. I think it's just a really solid potato salad.
I've had it. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, it's good. Our coleslaw is just kind of something that me and another chef in Lubbock, Matt Smith, we kind of came up with, collaborated. And it's just a solid, like, what I think of coleslaw.
Yeah.
There's not really a story behind that, but the coleslaw is basically the only menu item that doesn't have a story.
Okay.
I thought you got to have, as a sandwich spot, you got to have a side. Sorry. As a sandwich spot, you got to have coleslaw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because that, you can throw that on a sandwich and it brings it,
Yeah. It pairs perfectly, especially with pulled pork.
Yeah.
Right? That's why you see it on
exactly.
pulled pork so much. Just the way it cuts, some of the fats and stuff.
Exactly. So, we brought that on, and then we had, that's basically the sides that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
We did a Mexican elote, like a street corn.
Yeah.
That was cool. We're going to start doing some more specials, kind of weekly specials that we'll throw on the menu for a week or two. Just whatever we're feeling, we want to cook like however we're feeling, probably a little mac and cheese, something like that. But we have a banana pudding as well.
Yes.
And that kind of changes monthly. We just do our little twist on banana pudding.
Okay.
But yeah, we like just everything to have a story, or have us to really be moved to put something on the menu. So we'll even test some things that might go on the menu, but it's gotta, I don't know, it's just gotta work, and it has a way of telling you that it's gonna work. Either customers, or there's always like a clear sign of like, all right, this needs to be on the menu, or no, like this is a wreck, this is a train wreck. But you gotta have faith in what you're doing, and give it a good chance to see if it'll stick.
So to that point, do you ever have customers walk in and be like, "Hey, don't do this anymore. It sucks."
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like still to this day, we've been doing burgers on Tuesdays for like almost a year now.
Yeah.
And people, they have a really hard time with it. They come in craving the chopped brisket or sliced brisket.
And y'all don't, you just do burgers.
And we just do burgers and sausage wraps and tacos on Tuesdays, because that's our first day of the week to cook. So people still have a really hard time with that. I mean, and the burgers are delicious. They're ground.
I've had it. I've come in on a Tuesday and found out that that's what y'all do. I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate. It's just like, all right, like I'll try it.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. And some people walk out still, and that's fine. I understand.
Yeah.
I just hope that they come back tomorrow or sometime that week.
Sure.
Give us another shot.
Sure. Absolutely. So the follow-up to that question, taking it a step further, obviously 3 generations in, you ever have people come in that have been eating there for decades? And what are you doing to this? You ever have the, like, both the positive and the negative, right? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah. That's, I mean, that is a pro and a con to being a third generation and owning a generational type of restaurant. The pros being, if people do see my intentions, which are good, I love Tom and Bingo's. I would never want to change it for the worse just to benefit me. But if people do see my intentions, they get to see the restaurant grow and make it to the third generation, and have a spot, have a chance to make it to the 4th and 5th generation. That's the real goal.
Yeah.
It's just seeing the evolution of Texas barbecue, and just the owners and the pit masters in general, and seeing how things change, and the differences and the pit masters, and just the differences in the times. And our restaurant kind of gets to reflect a little bit of, past, present, and, then hopefully the future too.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
That's cool. The cons, if somebody's having a bad day or maybe, in a bad mood, they just see it as I don't have what they want.
Yeah.
So they get pretty mad, and that's fine. But we just write that up as having a bad day.
Sure.
And
that's what you have to do, I think. Yeah. can't dwell on that.
Yeah.
And that, so, obviously our target market here with this podcast is other business owners. And we like to talk about the struggles and things like that. And I love to, just kind of let you tell your story and we can let that unfold. And one thing that you talked about that I want to dwell on just a little bit is how you've had to make this transition, or how you chose to make the transition from kind of the older style barbecue to the newer style stuff. Because it was probably, one, just time for a change, and two, just changing of the times. And I think it sets you up to be a more viable business in the future. Can you talk to me about the approach that you had? Because I can't imagine you just overnight decided, or unless you did, and that's cool too, but did you just like decide overnight, we're going to do this barbecue this way like Aaron Franklin is? Or what was that process like? What were the business decisions behind it? That kind of thing.
Yeah. It wasn't overnight for sure. And there's a long drawn out history just on that. So direct me to the market, the business market. So of this podcast. So I love talking about that kind of thing. So, when I took it over in 2017, it was, the style that I was talking about, the old school, we'll call it the old school style, that we were cooking. People loved it. There's a whole philosophy on if it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing. That you could have just kept that going and kept that operation going for the foreseeable future, and you would have been fine, and everything would have, kept going the same as it always has been. Or there is, or you evolve, that's basically your two options. Yeah. So, after Dwayne had died, I wanted to do things the old fashioned way. That's the way that I fell in love with Tom Bingo's. And that's what brought me back. So I was just planning on doing things, the way that we always have, really. Yeah. And I don't know exactly the moment, but I think even before I moved off to Denver, I was putting some salt and pepper on the brisket, and some of the customers would be like, "Hey, what the hell is that stuff on the brisket?"
Yeah.
And I was like,
"Salt and pepper, guys."
Down. Yeah, it's just a little salt and pepper.
Yeah.
So when I came back and I owned it, it was, I could do a little, I had a little bit more wiggle room. Sure. But only as much wiggle room as the customers would allow. Yeah. So you have to keep that delicate balance. You have to keep that balance good. So any business decision that I would think of, you have to make sure that that's gonna go with the customers, and you can't stray too far from what they want.
You have to make these transitions more slowly, right? Like, you didn't wake up and make the type of barbecue making now. You're still probably transitioning.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
You got to adjust people's palates
slowly. And even in this artistic venture that I think that I'm doing, you know, even as an artist and a chef, I'm not really a chef, but I think about food a lot. Yeah. You want to do what you want to do, but there's still a fine line of, you can't just do what you want to do without keeping the customer in mind. Sure. So there's that balance that you got to keep. But yeah, once I realized and I started to get more into barbecue, and I started desiring to cook better briskets and everything, that kind of naturally brings you just up to speed with the current, game. And so I just kind of got introduced to the Instagram world of barbecue by a food critic that came in by the name of Jimmy Ho. Okay. And I started seeing this whole world outside of Lubbock. Yeah. And I was kind of clueless to it, really. Before I didn't know anything like that existed. So yeah, I was just kind of focused on growing the business that I had and doing what I thought that we could do. Yeah. And just taking care of our customers, just taking care of what they wanted and being happy doing it. Sure. So once I figured out this whole Instagram world, and you would see pictures of these beautiful black bark briskets, and the ribs, it's all like so aesthetically pleasing and pretty on Instagram, that I just had to figure out what was going on. Yeah. And that just kind of drew me into an Aaron Franklin masterclass online. Okay, you took his masterclass? I took his masterclass. And then from there, I just kind of got obsessed with like learning things on the internet and watching stuff on YouTube and trying it on the pits that we have.
Yeah.
So we have brick pits, which are very different than what people are cooking on these days with the offset smokers.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit too. Like that's another thing when I'm a casual customer. I say I'd probably go at least once a month, or at least not maybe twice a month to Tom and Bingo's, and then I frequent other barbecue places. But when you walk in there, you're not thinking, is this, at least I'm not thinking, is this brick pit? Is this, offset smoker? So talk to me about just like subtleties like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, these brick pits that we're cooking on, that was kind of the thing that goes along with the story of, I started getting into these new techniques and I didn't have a pit. So I just had to, you got to play the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
So I had these, brick pits to cook on, and I just started getting good at cooking a different way on our pits. You just adapt to what you have.
Yeah.
And there was kind of a moment where I thought maybe I need an offset smoker, and I just played around with that idea, but I thought it was just way cooler to do it the old school way. And if you can do it on the brick pits that we have now,
that makes it a true pit master.
Yeah,
right
that's
there,
just
right?
cool. Like, that's just, you're just tying into that history and the connection to everything before you, and you get to cook the same way that Tom cooked. And I don't know, there's just something barbecue about that. That's kind of what barbecue is. And so I decided we're just going to cook on our pits until they kind of fall apart. And they are falling apart. So, we probably have another 5 years on them until we have to upgrade into something else. But that kind of makes it exciting too. These things have a life expectancy.
Yeah.
And we'll have to adapt again. We'll have to change, and we'll see what happens. But that's what keeps this whole thing interesting. That's what keeps me, so involved, and so I'm always thinking about this stuff. So it keeps me very engaged into all the goals that we set. The list of goals that we have. That's what keeps me going, and it keeps it interesting, and everything changes all the time. So if we hang on to a goal for too long, you have to change. You have to update those goals very regularly with the store, because things change, and COVID and people's customers' perceptions change, and you just have to keep up with that and make sure that you're not holding on to something for too long that's already passed, and you're wasting too much energy on this thing that is just, it's not going to serve you anymore.
Yeah.
So I think you got to just stay focused on, what you need to do and where you need to put your energy.
And you said something a couple of times throughout this podcast, but it's something that most every single guest that sits in the chair that you're sitting in, they say that same thing too. And to me, it's the very fabric. It's like, if you've got these core things built into your business, you're going to make it in some capacity. And that is, you said you got to evolve. You got to adapt and change. Like those are things that everyone, like I said, that sits in that chair, that owns a business that's going places, they all say those same things as it pertains to their business and their industries. You've got to evolve with the times. You got to adapt and change with the hand you're dealt, and constantly reevaluate those goals. So yeah, that's fantastic. So if you're listening to this episode, I say it all the time, but I'm going to reiterate it here. You have to be firm in your values and loose in your goals. You gotta always hold on to what, stay true to who you are and never let that change. But you have to be able to adapt how your approach to the world around you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You can't be afraid to change.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are afraid to change, and they're afraid of change. And that's it is hard. It's uncomfortable. But once you get used to change and you see it, then it's a little less comfortable.
Yeah.
But I also think that, something that I've been thinking about a lot lately in the positions that I'm in and you're in, running WunderTree, and just any business owners or any creators, really, I've been thinking this about creators is it's harder to set your sights on something that doesn't exist, like a future business. It doesn't exist. And it's a lot easier to set your sights on something that already does exist. Like you go to work for a corporation, and there's this hierarchy of employment that you're going to have, and you're going to start out here and you're going to go here, and here's the ladder. You can set your sights on that. It's easy because it exists and somebody else has done it before you. But the thing that I have gotten to love is setting your sights on
total unknowns.
Just a vision that you have, and there's nothing actually there, and you have to believe in yourself and enough and stay firm in who you are to basically convince yourself that something is going to happen. And that's so hard to do, because a lot of times you feel like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to go there in your head to do something like Wonder Tree, or to do any type of business. You have to say that this can happen.
Yeah.
And you just got to make it happen. And
bringing a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Ian.
And that's
slap that amazing sound effect there, Alex.
Yeah.
Let's hit that. Let's get some sound effects going.
Sound effects.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
So,
that's truly amazing.
I don't mean to rant for too long.
No, you're good.
But that is the thrill of this whole thing.
Absolutely.
It's just actually something. You created something from nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that is what keeps people coming back and addicted to this lifestyle.
Sure.
You know.
And I love that we're talking about this, because again, to the end customer walking in, they're just there to get barbecue.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about like you and behind the scenes, like having fun making the barbecue, but you're having more fun, arguably, just getting to do the business and turn that into something, that we don't even know what that's going to look like yet.
Yeah.
Like, it's just constantly building. And so that's, I think, the rush for any business owner or entrepreneur is like, there's the what we do, and that can be fun, but then it's just like the act of being able to know, like, this could go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I can help get it to that place.
Yeah. It's freedom. And it's also, nothing is stopping you except yourself. And that's a very fun space to play around in life in general.
Yes.
And I think that should be a lot of people's goal, is to get to that space of freedom and having nothing limiting you. And if you can just boil it down to those two things, I think that's where your natural self will, just make your life, you click into that extra gear if you can just get your environment and your surroundings right. Yeah. And that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. Circling back around to some barbecue talk. I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
I say
we
circling.
Need to chill out.
No. This is getting super deep. No,
I had to hit that sound effect earlier, but I had to go in and take a note of that for our social media, because that was.
Yes, you got it. You got it that time. Right?
Yes.
You made up for it.
That's right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Talk to me about, and this is something I want to bring Alex in on the conversation for. Talk to me about the branding of barbecue and like that, just like the brand, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh man,
Alex, you have questions about that? Alex is our brand guy. So.
Yeah. So, let me ask you, like, what do you guys? There's a lot of times a big gap between what I think and what a normal customer thinks. So, what do you see as, like? Tell me a little bit more about specifics about branding. What you think of barbecue branding?
Sure.
And I'll tell you kind of what I see.
Yeah, for sure. Alex, you want to answer that?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. The thing that immediately comes to mind when I think of barbecue branding, obviously, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so logos, immediate thing that comes to mind. And anytime I see something even modern in terms of like barbecue restaurants and things like that, it's always got like a rough edge. It's kind of traditionalist, but it's got this like hand-drawn looking element to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
like Franklin's.
Y'all's kind of has that with the log behind the logo. But I'm curious to see if there, like you're talking about with experimenting with some of the stuff that y'all do, is there an experiment that you could do with your, not you specifically, but do you think that there's a brand out there that could experiment with like a modern, like a really sleek design and still get that same vibe of a barbecue restaurant? Because I feel like that would be really hard to accomplish, but not to say that it couldn't be done. Just in your mind, if y'all were to change your logo to like
look like ours,
right?
Like if you went the tech route and it was just like words, Tom and Bingos, and it was like black and white, art style font.
Would that obviously y'all have had a lot of history behind yours, so I don't know that it would work equally, but in somebody else's case, I
I think that if your logo matches, I think if you're Tom and Bingo's, you probably don't want a new school logo, right? But if you're like a new school barbecue guy, like there are some new school barbecue guys. Evan Leroy has that term kind of trademarked. But yeah, I think if you're a newer barbecue guy, I think you can go with the new school logo and just kind of be like, nah, like we're new school barbecue. As long as you rock with it, then I think that, you know, if it fits you, it fits you.
Yeah, the new school barbecue, they cook with steam.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how it works.
They cook with vape. They vaporize it. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's the general question I had. I did want to say that I'm pretty new to the scene with the barbecue joint, or for y'all specifically. Yeah. But the time that I did have it, it was like knock my socks off good.
Thank you.
Ooh, Lord. Shout out. Anyhow.
Shout out to socks.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So another thing I was going to say, you talked about this a little bit earlier, was when you had people come in, this isn't necessarily a question, but more of a point that I was going to try and make. I know that people don't necessarily like the new changes and things like that, but that just shows that they're passionate about y'all's stuff, and they know that y'all do awesome stuff. And so when they see something different, it's just hard for people to get used to. So it's just cool to see that people come in and they're that passionate about what y'all do.
Yeah. So and I do respect that they do, or that they're that emotional about it. And if we get people that are super emotional, we tell ourselves like, wow, they really wanted our sandwich. Like, we take it as a compliment. Yeah. And you know, don't get me wrong, most people love the burgers and they come on Tuesdays for the burgers. But there's a small percentage of people that are, you know,
sure.
But they're for the most part, everybody's on board. They're being pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So that said though, like, what is your opinion on not only the Tom and Bingo's brand, but just when you see brands around town? Because the Tom and Bingo's logo, which when we talk about brands, we're talking about more than just the logo, because it's that smell that you smell when you walk in the building. It's the customer experience. It's the whole thing. But when you look at like the Tom and Bingo's or the Evie Mae's or stuff like that, where do you feel like y'all stack up, you know, in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, branding's really important for any business. And that's something that I've recently got into, marketing and branding and that kind of stuff. I was so into the food, and I was just kind of anti that with Tom and Bingo's. I'm like, nah, we're going to like be old school. Like we got to go with that whole old school stuff of like word of mouth. And you come in, maybe you don't even know where you are. I don't know, but you're going to just walk into a kitchen. That was kind of our brand, right? Yeah. So in a way, I was thinking more about it than I had thought. So the brand I was thinking about was anti-branding, I guess.
Okay.
But that's a brand, you know, that's a vibe, I guess, or that's a whatever the heck you want to say about it. Like, that's your, I don't know, what's the right word for it? I don't really know, but that's your.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's a brand.
It's like it's a brand. Yeah. Yeah. It's the feel. It's the atmosphere. That all of that is a brand. Yeah. It's so much more than just a logo.
Right. Yeah. And I think that does people get confused with that a little bit, where people think that it is just a logo, but it's not. There's, like you said, you walk in and you smell things, and you like Ryker said too, you smell things and you hear things, and it just is the atmosphere overall that creates a brand. So
yeah, I agree. And so as you grow and you get, you know, you want to just be yourself more, I think the more comfortable you feel, or you know, for me, the more comfortable I felt with Tom and Bingo's and the company that we were becoming, the more I felt comfortable to put ourselves out there and to market ourselves more, and to be like, no, like, I want y'all to come to me. I have confidence that I want to feed you my food now. And, you know, that's just how you connect to people. I mean, that's your, in a way, it's how you're getting people in your store, and it's just your lifeline. I don't know. It's so I guess the more confident I was in myself, the more I wanted to brand, the more I wanted to market, I guess. Yeah. So.
No, that's great. Well, as we're kind of getting to the end of this episode, time flies when we're having fun and talking barbecue.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
This is great. As we're kind of getting close to the end, I have 3 questions I want to ask you. So we have a recurring segment on the show. It's called Tic Tac Toe, but we adjust that and we make that tips, tactics, total domination. So I'm going to ask you, first off, what's a tip that you have for other business owners, entrepreneurs that are wanting to start up a business?
Yeah, I just probably just go into it knowing that you're going to have to work way harder than you think you're gonna have to work. And if you don't have if working hard is if you have to force it, you probably should just stop, because you're in the wrong thing. Go find something that is you don't have to force, that you go to bed and you're like excited to wake up so that you can get to work.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, just go find something else, because you're not going to be able to maintain that.
Okay. All right, next thing. What's a tactic, something tangible, that you do? Some guests say like their nighttime routine or their morning routine, but it can be anything.
Okay, yeah, that's easy. I do jujitsu.
Okay.
I run and I work out.
Okay.
So
nice. So you can kick our ass, is what you're saying.
No, I mean, don't fall to the ground with me in a fight.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So I think that physical fitness and just getting that energy out, to me, it's a necessity. I have to do it. And that's,
Oh, no, I love that. I think you have to have that outlet. It can be so stressful. It can be like, life can be stressful, especially as a business owner. So having that outlet's great.
Yeah.
The last thing is total domination. So this can actually segue off of your tactic if you wanted to. But what is something that you feel like you totally dominate at, or that you do to totally dominate the day, or anything like that?
Yeah. I'm gonna take one from one of my idols, Joe Rogan.
Okay.
But I don't, in the barbecue and the restaurant kind of that industry, I don't think about total dominating the market as I would a different industry. But I think what everybody has to dominate is kind of that inner bitch within yourself.
Sure. I love that, dude.
And if you can just keep dominating that person that everybody has inside of yourself, then you just got to practice that, and just don't lie to yourself. Do what you say you're going to do. And as time goes by and you keep doing that and you keep staying honest to yourself, then you're dominating that person.
That's fantastic. Well, Alex, cue up the outro music.
Yeah.
And while Alex is queuing that out, what's something to look forward to in the future?
Yeah.
Give us the plug. This is your chance to tell us all about Tom Bingos. Where do we find you? All that stuff.
Yeah. We'll keep coming in for some good food. We'll have the good barbecue coming out. We got free beer. Who's free beer over 21.
Yeah.
And a nice new patio that you can sit out on, and that's probably going to keep growing. So I would say the patio. Come enjoy some drinks on the patio, some barbecue. And it's going to be nice.
Can confirm that's a lot of fun. Well, Ian, thank you again so much for being a part of this.
Guys.
I think it's going to be a great episode, and people are going to get a lot of value from it.
Cool.
We'll catch you in the next one.
All
Peace.
Right. See ya.
Cool.